Now focusing on to dispersal, dispersal refers to the movement of individuals from their birth ground, usually the natal ground that we say, and they move out to another ground. Okay, and this is usually called as natal dispersal, but sometimes they also move from one breeding ground to other, which is also called as breeding dispersal. Some of the individuals, they do not actually move out of the natal ground and remain back in the natal ground. These individuals are called to show philopatry. Philopatry is natal preference. So few organisms that do not disperse out of their natal grounds are called as philopatric. So dispersal has the potential of gene flow and can be the precursor of speciation. So if the individuals don't move out, they stay at the same place, then there are less chances of geographic or multitudinal isolation. So there are many chances that isolation happens when different organisms are in different patches. So it is influenced by multiple factors. One of the factors being population density. It is bound that when there are multiple individuals, few individuals have to move out because there are less resources. So it also refers to resource availability. If the resources are less, then even if the individuals are less in number, they have to manage with available resources. Then we are talking about breeding options. So we know that few individuals which are living all together, if they have the same familiar genes, then there are chances of inbreeding. Hence, they should move out. Okay. And also changing climatic condition, or let's say artificial condition, habitats, fragmentation, and all of that situation also makes the individual to disperse out to other places. Then it is also influenced by or is subjected to the activity range of the individual. Few individuals are more active and move out to different places. Few individuals cannot. So it depends on what is the range of activity of multiple individuals and how much they can go. So the spatial distribution comes in play, talking about how distributed are the individuals. So few individuals are clumped together, few individuals move around a lot. Okay, and what if the population is nearby or in a distant space? So it also depends on how spatially they are distributed. Okay, apart from that, what are the dispersal mechanisms that is associated with the particular individual? Few individuals are dispersed in multiple scenarios. Few plants are like dependent on the specific dispersal mechanisms. Similarly, few individuals of animals as well. So it's important to understand different dispersal mechanism. So when we are talking about plants, it could be autochory or allochory. So autochory is the kind of dispersal system in plant where they are not dependent on anyone else and they disperse on their own. Usually we know that gravity is more prominent and fruit falls down to the particular ground and again trees grow out of it. So it is based on gravity. Then there is ballistic dispersal. Few organisms and few plants basically show blasting their pods which disperse seed out to multiple areas. So it is seen and prominently that few plants show ballistic dispersal of seeds where they blast out seeds and that seed falls in a particular distance. Then allochory is kind of dispersal with a particular agent. So allochory is dependent on multiple agents. It could be wind that we call as anemochory. Right here we are talking about dispersal by wind. Then there is hydrochory, that is dispersal with respect to water, and many submerged plants or the aquatic plants usually use water as a agent for dispersal of multiple seeds. Then animal dispersal, which is pretty important in the sense animal plant interaction is studied with respect to the dispersal mechanisms. We understand and we know that butterflies, bees, moths, birds, elephants, and different organisms like birds and hornbills, lorises, all of them are agents of dispersal, and that binds the worlds of plant and animals because they all are interrelated and then all are dependent on each other. That's why biodiversity studies make them more interesting with respect to understanding both the aspects, not only one. Then there is anthropogenic or artificial systems where human or human induced systems like you can say ships, you can say trees, trucks, and all that which are associated with humans and taken up and transferred from one place to other, they actually help in dispersal of seeds. Then coming to animal dispersal, few animals are motile and few are non-motile. Non-motile animals show larval movement. If you remember, in case of echinoderms and also in case of cylindrids, there are many alternation of generations where there are multiple medullary stages which are larval forms and they are motile, whereas the adult stage are usually non-motile. Okay, so there are Anthozoic stage and Mesozoic stage and different stages where one particular group is sessile or non-motile, and the larval stages are motile, and they move out and they establish themselves in another area, forming adults, sessile adults. Then there is budding and detachment. It is shown in sponges and many cases of different organisms where few portion of the particular organism detaches and moves out and falls in a particular space, and there it grows out. So it is prominently shown in cases of sponges. Okay, and we also know that many organisms take the help of vectors, like case of microorganisms. So they take the help of vectors, attach to them parasitically, and then transfer from one place to other. Then there are motile organisms where they usually use locomotion, like we use. Then there is multiple cases of migration. Then there is passive dispersal or passive movement, like few organisms attached to the base of the other organisms and move out. Okay, so they are not actively moving, but they're attached to other organisms and moving with them. And then there is artificial dispersal or artificial dispersal, which is usually the case of where we are talking about invasive species. Like, so we brought multiple species to other areas and then artificially that dispersed to different areas, which are not actually their own natural habitats. So there are multiple dispersal mechanisms that are associated with multiple organisms.